Hey guys, I'm Yes or No, and I'm a little under the weather today, so we're gonna have a calm, nice video where I talk about quarter-life crises, and enemies. But yeah, it's gonna be a little slow pace, so if you have the attention span of a fish, I don't know, I'd suggest swimming away from this video and doing whatever fish do, like Finding Nemo or something. Essentially, I wanted to talk about this idea of the quarter-life crisis. I know you guys, a lot of you have heard of the midlife crisis, right? Where men turn 50, they go bald, they buy a Ferrari and leave their wife. But the quarter-life crisis is a little different, right? Because you don't have money to leave your wife and buy a Ferrari. No, but essentially it's this moment in your life where you're caught somewhere in between 20 and 30, which is exactly where I am, actually. Shout out to myself, who had my 25th birthday, the day after Jesus' birthday. Holla. Yeah, so essentially you're caught somewhere between 20 and 30, and you're feeling lost and anxious about life, right? Usually because you've just stepped fresh out of college or high school or something, and you've gone through a couple of jobs and you're feeling a little purposeless and like nothing makes sense, and you don't know which direction to go from there. That's essentially a quarter life crisis. But because you don't have the moolah of somebody at 50 years old, you can't go soul searching with your bank account. You gotta find the answer in there or in here. Actually, the idea of the quarter-life crisis got me wondering a lot before my 25th birthday if I was going to experience a crisis sometime in this year. But I actually don't think that it's going to happen to me. Here's why. I think I actually experienced my quarter-life crisis like 1 or 2 years ago. Essentially, 2 years ago, I flew away to France with 2 suitcases and no frickin' idea how to approach the real world, right? But I went there just doing a part-time job teaching English and another part-time job of growing my YouTube channel. And when that job in France ended, I actually had just met my boyfriend Zeman, and I thought, he lives in Munich. I might as well just fly to Munich. There's no difference between the two. And I up and rooted my whole life from one place that speaks one language to another place which speaks a completely different language. And no jobs on the horizon, nothing but my growing, yet still struggling YouTube channel. And I thought, I'll learn something. And learn I did. I learned back then how isolating it can be to not even know how to communicate with the people around you, to not have friends around you like you did in college. I also learned what it feels like to go from a college with a ton of prestige, Harvard, out into the real world doing something that other people might not get. YouTube and freelancing. And that's stressful, right? When I went to Harvard, I had the support of society just like blowing behind my back. But what I'm doing now in life is much more of my own path that I need to carve out and kind of fight and be like, no, this is what I want, and no matter how much you have your judgments, this is what I want. But it's not that easy to feel strong about that. Right? Because as I was feeling a little bit lost a year or two ago, you know what my fellow former classmates were doing? They were going back to Harvard Law School. They were going back to business school. Actually, I say business school. No, just everybody goes back to law school after college, right? And some of them were getting like hundreds of thousands of dollars for their startups, right? Like every new day I go on Facebook is just another smack in the face of, look at all these cool things your friends are doing. And I don't so much feel jealous of that as I feel just like discouraged myself that I'm not there yet. And I don't know if this is a common thing other people feel in their mid-20s, but I imagine it can be. But the cool thing for me about going and doing something like YouTube and freelancing, as opposed to just stepping in to a corporate job right after college, is it gave me so much time to think, right? Like, I like to tell people that I sort of retired at 23. You know, like I gave myself all this time to figure out what it is I want to do. Because thinking is usually only reserved for retirees, right? Who've spent so much time in their office jobs, and now the first time they actually get to think about what they want is the day they step out of the office, right? And usually what they think they want is just to relax, right? But when they get out into, life after work, they realize, oh no, I actually have other passions I want to pursue, and that's what's going to make me happy. So for me, I allowed myself that gap year or two to kind of take that retiree mindset and be like, what is actually going to make me happy, right? I didn't just step into corporate life and let society tell me this was the way things had to be done. And for that, I'm super grateful. I actually have this analogy that's not perfect, but it'll kind of give you a sense of how I view this situation. I kind of view life as like this giant game of pin the tail on the donkey, right? And our only goal is to pin the tail on our own personal donkeys, right? Our own personal passions, right? But in the beginning, you start out blindfolded and your friends, your community spins you around, and when they leave you, you don't know which direction you're headed. And a lot of people will just start walking in whichever direction they've been placed, which might be the completely opposite direction of the donkey they need to pin the tail on, right? Some people will get lucky. Some people will walk straight into the donkey. But for me, what I did these 2 years, even though it might not have looked like I was making any progress because I wasn't walking toward my donkey, what I was doing was I was trying to figure out which direction I needed to head, right? So even though I looked like I was at a standstill for 2 years, what I was really doing was orienting myself so that now, once I start walking, I'll be better able to go in the direction I need to. So I guess that's why I say I don't think I'll have a quarter life crisis this year of my life. I could be wrong, right? I could walk straight into a wall and be like, oh God, Taylor, you didn't know what you were doing at all. But I think now I've taken enough time to figure out which directions I want to head. I'm not going to tell you because that's a secret. But you'll see over the next year how things unfold. But I guess if you find yourself kind of lost in whatever situation you're in, I would say just, take a little bit of that stress off your shoulders because it doesn't need to be there, right? Everything will get figured out, right? We're all just humans. We're all going to die one day anyway, so what's the point? But just give yourself some time to think, right? Say, hey, what do I really want? Not just what is society telling me, but what do I really want? And that might align with what society's telling you. It might not, but time is usually a good thing, and time to think is usually a better thing. So, that being said, I'm gonna go take some time to get over this cold that I have. And I will see you in 2019. Bye.